June 2025. Jim Farley, CEO of Ford, one of the largest automakers in the world, sits in front of a live camera at Bloomberg TV. He says three words that should have made the world stop. It is hand to mouth. Ford, 122 years old, $100 billion in revenue, no longer can build cars. Not because of a strike, not because of a crisis, because of missing magnets. Magnets made from 17 metals. Metals for which China controls 92% of global processing. Metals whose names almost nobody knows. Without them, no electric car moves, no wind turbine turns, and no F-35 flies. China had turned off the tap, and the world realized it was trapped. And it is happening again right now. All events, data, and sources for this video can be found in the description below. Form your own opinion. Imagine someone quietly pulling the plug on your factory. Not overnight, not with a bang, slowly, invisibly, over decades. That is exactly what happened. Rare earths, 17 chemical elements, are the invisible core of the modern world. Neodymium makes magnets so powerful that electric motors can fit inside a smartphone. Dysprosium ensures those magnets still work under extreme heat. Terbium is inside every screen you're looking at right now. A single electric car uses up to 10 times more rare earths than a combustion engine vehicle. A single wind turbine up to 600 kilograms. A single F-35 fighter jet. 417 kilograms for radar, targeting systems, stealth coating. Without rare earths, no radar, no targeting, no fighter jet, just a very expensive metal shell. And who produces and processes almost all of it? 60% of global mining, 92% of global processing, one single country. For decades, the West bought cheap from China. Why mine it yourself when someone else does it cheaper? That question sounded reasonable. It was a strategic mistake of historic proportions. But how did it come to this? In the 1980s, Deng Xiaoping said a sentence that almost no one paid attention to at the time. The Middle East has oil, China has rare earths. It was not a joke. It was a roadmap. China invested massively in mining, chemistry, processing technology. Environmental protection was ignored. Prices were pushed down deliberately. Western mines closed one by one because they could no longer compete. The last major American mine, Mountain Pass in California, filed for bankruptcy in 2002. The West brought cheap. China built capacity. For 30 years. And every time you fill up your car, drive an electric vehicle, or charge your smartphone, you are part of a supply chain that runs 92% through Beijing. Most people never chose that. Even fewer understood it. In 2010, China showed the world for the first time what this plan was worth.
September 2010, Chinese fishing boat rams a Japanese Coast Guard vessel near the Senkaku Islands, a dispute over uninhabited rocks in the Pacific. Japan arrests the Chinese captain. China does not respond with threats. China does not respond with military force. China stops the export of rare earths to Japan. Just like that, without warning. Rare earth prices surged. Within months, prices had increased by up to 2,000%. Japan's electronics, automotive, and high-tech industries were thrown into panic. Japan backed down. The captain was released. The shipments resumed. The world had its wake-up call and went back to sleep. Because what happened to Japan in 2010 was only the rehearsal. The real shot came 15 years later, and it hit everything at once. April 4th, 2025. China introduces export controls on 7 heavy rare elements: samarium, gadolinium, terbium, dysprosium, lutetium, scandium, yttrium. The new licensing system effectively brought exports to a halt overnight. The reaction was immediate. Frank Eckert, CEO of rare earth magnet trader Magnetosphere, said the entire automotive industry is in full panic. Germany's VDA and VDMA, the two most important industrial associations, both sounded the alarm simultaneously in June 2025. Looming production losses, supply shortages for high-performance magnets. First factories in Europe went silent. In America, Ford CEO Jim Farley at the Aspen Ideas Festival said, "We shut down plants for 3 weeks because we cannot get high-power magnets."
Magnets go into your speakers, your seat motors, your wiper motors, your door motors. And we cannot make that stuff. Ford, 3 weeks, because of magnets. Bloomberg TV, June 13, 2025. Ford CEO Jim Farley. It is day to day. We have had to shut down factories. It is hand to mouth right now. Rare earth prices rose by 40 to 50%. And then came the move that even experts had not anticipated. China introduced an online tracking system. Every manufacturer sourcing rare earths from China must now regularly report their trade volumes, buyers, and customer lists to Beijing. China now knows exactly who buys what, how much, and for which products. It reveals which Western factories are most dependent. It reveals which defense projects are at stake. This is no longer commodity trade. This is economic intelligence gathering. Can you imagine what Beijing does with that information? And now comes the question that turns everything upside down.
Perhaps you are thinking right now, then the West simply buys from somewhere else. Australia, Canada, Greenland. Problem solved. That is exactly what the West thought too, and that is exactly the problem. Mining rare earths is one thing. Processing rare earths is something else entirely. The processing is chemically complex, can involve radioactive contamination, took decades to build up, and has been almost completely dismantled in the West. China has a 30 to 40-year head start in processing technology. Even if a new Australian mine opens tomorrow, the ore would still need to go to China for processing, because the facilities for it barely exist in the West anymore. Raw materials expert Harald Elsner of Germany's Federal Institute for Geosciences stated openly, "German companies can expect a foreseeable shortage. I simply do not see that adequate precautions are being taken." And the worst-case scenario? Should China's export controls come fully into force on November 10, 2026, the International Energy Agency warns of a potential threat to $6.5 trillion of annual economic output outside China. $6.5 trillion, more than the combined GDP of Japan and Germany. One date, one decision, in Beijing. What is the world doing about it, and is it enough?
The West is acting, but it is falling behind. The G7 agreed reduce dependency on a single supplier by below 60% by 2030. That means going from 92% to below 60% in 4 years. Some call that ambitious. Experts call it unrealistic. America signed bilateral agreements with Australia, India, Canada, and African nations. Trump seriously considered acquiring Greenland, not for the ice, for the rare earths, oil, and uranium underneath. France's Solvay, the world's largest rare earth processor outside China, could theoretically cover 30% of the EU's magnet demand. Theoretically, but the company is still looking for buyers. Expert Elsner asked publicly, but where are the German automakers? Should not they also want to produce reliably and with high quality? The answer never came. 34 raw materials are classified as critical by the EU. For 27 of them, China is among the top 3 producers. Now, a direct question to you. If one country controls the raw materials used to build electric cars, wind turbines, and fighter jets, does it then hold power over your energy supply, your security, your future? Write your answer in the comments. I read every single one.
Deng Xiaoping knew it in the 1980s. He said,
The Middle East has oil. China has rare earths. Nobody laughed then, but nobody really listened either. Today, 4 decades later, the consequences are visible. Trump calls Xi because of 17 metals. Ford shuts down plants because of missing magnets. European armies are rearming with weapons whose components come from China. Europe builds wind turbines for the energy transition with raw materials that Beijing can cut off at any moment. And on November 10, 2026, China decides who keeps the world's breathing. In 1974, a handshake in the desert decided who controls the world's oil. In 2025, a ministerial decree in Beijing decided who controls the metals of the future. Same logic, same power structure. Only this time, it is not about oil. It is about everything that comes after oil. The real question is not, can the West achieve the energy transition? The real question is, on whose terms?